Boom. We're live.
WANBC.
We'll do it live. We'll fucking do it live. That's how we like to start these things. We're on the clock with Christopher Kai House. Do you go by the whole shit? What do you...
Just Chris is fine.
Chris.
Just call me Chris. Chris Ho.
Chris.
Whatever. Call me
Chris
Ho.
Ho works.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
How about just Ho?
Right.
Whatever.
We already got a Chris, motherfucker.
That's right. We do. So I told you to call me
House.
House. Just call me House. Yep.
All right.
That's
I
a good
like
name.
House anyway.
I don't want
take
to
House over Chris.
Right.
I don't want to step on any toes or anything like that. So you call me whatever you want.
Nah, not at all. I don't give
We're
a shit.
here. This is an episode of Hard Out, my favorite movie, where we have a guest on to geek out over their favorite film for 60 minutes. Before we dive into that, speaking of films, as always, into the foreseeable future, this is brought to you by our own film, Cactus Jack. Stick around at the end of this episode. You can see a trailer of it. Without further ado, your favorite film is...
Oh, hands down, it's Jaws.
Dun, dun,
Jaws.
dun, dun. Dun 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 dun.
Exactly. Yeah, you asked me what my favorite movie was, and I didn't even have to think about
No,
it.
you didn't.
Okay.
A lot of people are like, man,
So-
I got a him and haw, and, I got one for every genre and shit. And yours is just like Jaws.
So has it been your favorite movie since you saw it? Like it's never. Have you changed favorite movies, or is it always?
I've wafted a little bit. Probably the past decade, it's been my favorite movie. Before that, it would go like Twister was my favorite movie for a short period of time. So I'm easy to please, I guess. But
So you like the high octane stuff?
Yeah, I do.
Didn't they play Twister in one of the drive-ins here during COVID recently?
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did. No, I haven't been to a movie The Invisible Man in February was probably my last movie.
I don't know if this is made up in my head, but speaking of drive-ins and we're talking about Jaws, I believe I saw Jaws at a drive-in, but I was only 2 years old. So I got to ask Mom. I don't know if that's just some made-up shit in my head, but...
We got to get like the red Cactus Jack bat phone to her and just call her ass.
Right, yeah. I should have asked before this, but yeah, so it kind of ties in. But if they used to go to drive-ins, we definitely did that plenty when I was a kid, but that's really early, so I don't know if I'd really have memories of that.
Yeah, my mom used to take me to a lot of drive-ins. My first drive-in memory was in 79. I saw Dracula. I don't remember what we saw before Dracula, and the only part of Dracula that I remember was the very end. Frank Langella's Dracula was at the very end when they're on the boat and he's melting. That's the only part I remember. But
it is so funny because Jaws was like that to me. I haven't seen it in fucking decades since I was a kid, probably maybe a teenager. I saw it again, but just moments. But I mean, Chris and I have been talking lately, in the construction of movies. That's really what it is about, is moments. And if a movie nowadays has 2-3 killer moments in it, I'm in. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah.
I'll forgive a lot as long as you have a couple killer moments, because really in the end, that's all you remember anyway. It's like with a relationship, you remember a few fights, a few good things. You don't remember every detail. That's how films go. But it's interesting that in the last 10 years, this has become your favorite, because it feels like one that would be since you were a kid,
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a Jaws fan. The first Jaws movie I saw in the theater that I remember was Jaws 3D, which I freaking loved.
I was going to ask about that as one of the
Jaws
follow-ups.
3D.
Yeah, there was a whole spate of 3D movies at that time coming out.
Friday the 13th,
it was like the fad, and the eyeball pops out at you and shit. Yes.
Yeah, Friday the 13th. That's the first Friday movie I saw in the theater. I remember we went. My mom took me. My mom was a big horror fan. Like, she's the person that got me into horror.
Ours too.
My mom would take me to all these R-rated horror films when I was like 10 years old. We'd go see Silent Night, Deadly Night, cross the picket lines of all the angry moms, and my mom's just like, I don't care. We're going to go see the movie.
Fucking A.
Awesome.
But yeah, Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
The horror moms.
Yep. I wouldn't be the horror fan I am without my mom.
What does she think of this festival you guys put on?
She passed away. She passed away before the festival was a thing. Yeah, about 7 years ago she passed. So I'm sure she'd dig it. She would dig it.
Well, maybe it's a little bit of a way to honor her.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
So Jaws having come out in 75, right? How old were you at the time?
I was only 3. I was born in 72.
Okay, so we're about the same age.
Yeah, that was
1 year
before my time. Yeah, a little bit before my time.
Okay, so why is it your favorite movie? Can you summarize it?
I mean, it's everything. It's a perfect movie. It's a perfect storm of perfect writing, perfect editing, perfect directing, perfect performances. It's everything. ask people what kind of a film Jaws is. You got some people that will say it's a horror film. Some people will say it's an adventure. Some will say it's a thriller. Some will say action. It's just a perfect movie. It's a perfect storm.
It's like it makes a concerted effort to switch genres between sequences, even the music.
Yes, I was going to say the same.
There's a section where they're first going to catch Jaws, Quentin, Hooper, and Brody. They first set out to catch him, and it's pure action, just adventure, music, everything.
Yeah, that threw me watching because I just watched it again for this purpose, for this discussion, and I noticed that exact moment you're talking about where the music seemed so whimsical and kind of like it felt like it.
Yep.
Because my memory of Jaws was more as straight up a horror film, pretty much, and watching it again, it was like, this is hitting almost like these. I mean, it really four quadrant, like these notes where it does have this kind of more adventure, high seas, adventure sort of vibe or something, Moby Dick.
He could have. Now, it's interesting, too. I was watching some of the making of shit, and Spielberg was only 26 when he directed this, which is fucking nuts. When I think of what I was doing at 26, like I told Chris, I was like getting busted by the cashier, stealing a hot dog from open pantry, hammered and shit at 26. Like,
amazing.
This motherfucker's directing Jaws after a massive studio bidding war over the source material and everything that this 26-year-old would be tapped to make this fucking movie. I mean, that is gangster. I mean, everyone knows about Spielberg, though. At 20, he was directing TV episodes of shit, which is insane.
He would sneak on the lot. There's some stories about him just like basically acting as if he worked for the studios just as a teenager, office assistant or something like that. Yeah. I should correct myself too. It's not four quadrant. Obviously, that's more like, family friendly. Like this has, this is a bit much for it's tentpole, right? But we all watched it as kids. It seems like things have changed a bit where people wouldn't be as comfortable now having kids watch stuff like that.
Exactly. My wife won't let my kid watch it.
Yep.
Which I probably would let him.
Same here.
So, man, what I was getting at is he was young when he directed this. So there are still some things I would love to talk to him. Like, what would you do differently if you were to direct Jaws now? Because I think some of what he could have done with that genre hopping is tied it more to a POV of a character. Like if he had tied that action adventure to Hooper more, maybe, who's actually getting to go out and seek this huge great white shark that he's been wanting to lay eyes on or whatever, you know what I mean? There's probably ways in, because Brody, it's pure horror for him.
Yeah.
Hooper, it felt like more like excitement, and
that was more the Moby Dick thing.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of, and then for Quint, obviously, he's just like Heart of Darkness or some shit almost, though, too, given his backstory, which is fucking amazing, and we'll touch on that later, but I
bet you he would have made it on a set rather than on location.
Yeah. That was one of the things in the making of shit where they talked about how hard it is to direct in general, but he's like, you finally set your shot, but by the time you're like, roll sound, roll camera, you're 10 feet away from where you set it up.
So he just floated away.
So it sounded like a nightmare, dude.
I know,
but he's just such a gamer. That's the best thing about it. Just there's no complaining, no losing his cool, none of that shit.
Just work with it.
Like, let's get the shot. What do we got to do to get the shot? That's how you got to be, really. I got a little too much bitch in me when it comes to directing, like getting flustered or just, this is annoying, it's not going my way. You really, though, got to just keep a positive attitude.
Yeah.
Especially with a crew like that. And let's talk about the shark. The mechanical shark, the breakdowns of it, that's kind of the mythology of this movie too, because one of the great axioms of horror were born out of their failures, kind of. The less you show it, the better.
Yep.
They were going to show it a hell of a lot more, but they kept fucking up.
Yeah, it kept breaking down. So
and it actually worked in their favor, probably, right?
I think so, yeah, for sure.
The less is more aspect of it.
I love the bit where it's just like an awful real world story, the USS Indianapolis bit where Quint was talking about that experience, which, for those who don't know, was sunk it was a US ship that had delivered the bomb for Hiroshima, destined for Hiroshima. And the ship on its return voyage, because it was so secret, they when they got attacked by the Japanese and sunk, they didn't send out a distress call, so all these men were lost or just afloat in the ocean and started getting picked off by sharks. And and it was 1,000 people who survived the initial attack, and by the end, I think it was maybe 300 people or something.
Mm-hmm.
The rest all had been killed by sharks and drowned and stuff, which is horrific.
Yep.
But at the end of that, he was describing the eyes of the shark, how it's like doll's eyes, you know, and it just has until it bites into you, then you see something, you see emotion of some kind.
Dude, Quint is one of the baddest motherfuckers in all of movie history.
What a monologue that was. I'm sorry to interrupt, but what a monologue that was. And you know that he did that monologue. They were all really drinking, and Robert Shaw got wasted. And he did that monologue when he was drunk. Did you hear that story? And he came back the next day and he's like, you know, Spielberg, I'm really sorry. I messed things up. Let me do it one more time.
Oh, shit.
Just give me one chance. And then that was the monologue that we got. I'd love to see that deleted scene. I don't think that's ever been released, but I'd love to see that drunk delivery of the monologue.
Oh, man.
So the one we got was not drunk.
Yeah, right.
Me too. Yeah, because I was going to say they're pretty good actors. They actually seem pretty drunk to me. So this was them acting then in the end. Okay.
I'm going to have to search it for that because, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, that would be
It's got to be out there somewhere.
Extra feature.
I hope it is. Yeah, I would love to see it.
Man, Robert Shaw is so fucking dope in this movie.
He is. He really is. I couldn't imagine anybody else in that role.
When Quint first appears and he's just like, they're having their little, almost like a PTA meeting where they're all freaking out about the shark and are we going to close the beaches or not and fuck up commerce in this little seaside town. 4th of July weekend coming up and he's just sitting in the back and the crowd kind of clears for him once he speaks up. He's just nails on
chalkboard.
Yes, that was it. Literally nails on a chalkboard.
Yes. And everyone just turns
get everyone's
like,
attention.
Fuck? And he's just sitting there cool as shit, dude. Obviously the renegade, the outlaw, and he just basically throws the gauntlet down. Yeah. I'll kill this fucking shark, but it's going to cost you 10 grand. Fucking, you know where to find me, basically.
I'll hunt it. Yes. And I'll trap it, but I'll kill it for 10. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. I'd love to see a prequel with Quint. I'd love to see a Quint movie.
Shit. Interesting idea. Yeah. I mean, going through the Indiana, because I always thought that alone would make it a crazy film. I mean, I mean, talk about horror, you know?
Yeah.
You know, there are movies like Open Water and stuff like that, you know, that's in that vein. And I mean, yeah. So that would be a perfect way to put that in a film, to have him the character experience that and everything.
His backstory reveal too. So many movies, and this is something you'll see in amateur scripts a lot, is they hold that reveal that's usually a character reveal or motivation reveal back for like this big reveal at the end. Oh, that's what made him tick. That's what his problem was all along. With him, it came like at the perfect time. First off, when you have these kind of action movies, you want those lulls in between the big set pieces and shit, a moment to catch your breath or whatever. So in one of those moments, let's hit with his backstory. But just earlier when they're in his place and it's just shark jaws everywhere.
Yeah.
This motherfucker kills sharks. He is a shark killer, not just a fisherman or whatever. He's a shark killer. And then to find out his backstory.
Why he
has a grudge.
His motivation.
Sharks. Yeah. Fuck sharks. You know, I lost hundreds of brothers and shit to sharks.
So in the end, spoiler alert, sharks got him. A shark got him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He's fucked up.
Titular shark.
Dude, I honestly didn't even remember. Like, it was almost like watching it for the first time again. It had been so long that I was
like the ship getting.
I don't remember.
Right? Yeah, I didn't remember that happening. I wasn't sure. I wondered that earlier. Rewatching it, like, does anyone die? Do these three guys all get away? I didn't remember.
I feel almost ashamed. It's fucking Jaws.
Me too.
Like,
I know. I mean, it's been what, 20 years or whatever since we had seen it, but
at least
a few years ago, Milwaukee Film showed Jaws and The Shining in 35 millimeter. I went to both, and it was really incredible watching these in 35 millimeter. Like,
wow,
I miss 35 millimeter prints. I love digital, don't get me wrong, but there's something really special about watching a 35 millimeter print. So, especially a Jaws.
Even knowing the process that went into it, that they had to hand cut it all, and know, just the way it had to be filmed, knowing that it's precious, that the amount of actual film you have to use is a finite.
Yeah, all those blown takes with drifting boats and sharks malfunctioning and shit.
And managing this sensitive material out in the water like that, I mean, that's fucking ambitious.
It is, man. Whenever I see old school filmmakers like that, like we got a podcast coming up after this one scheduled. We're going to talk about Raiders with a guy. And
my 7-year-old
kid, Spielberg. We just watched Raiders last night and finished it this morning with my 7-year-old. I was watching some of the making of shit there. And again, practical effects. Chris and I talk about this all the time. Fuck CGI, dude. Imagine when Jaws is ramming the cage when Hooper's in there. If it's CGI, it would just suck. Be so lifeless and shit.
It did just look horrific. I mean, the mouth, those teeth. I mean, it just wouldn't have that same quality in CGI. Yep. It just doesn't grab you like that. Like
even something a little cheesier in practical effects
is still better. Yes, which it was to some degree, to a small degree. I looked at some older reviews of, that were contemporary when it came out of the film, and a lot of people criticized the shark. That like there was, a couple close-ups that really just made it look silly. Like, but rewatching it, I was like, it doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I think it still looked pretty fucking, again, terrifying.
I think we appreciate things like that more nowadays, that we have so much CGI. Like we've seen the Meg, the shark in the Meg looks completely fake. The alligators, the crocodiles and Crawl looked fake. I mean, we have this newfound appreciation for practical effects, I think.
Yeah. Right.
Hopefully that
we'll ever go back there again.
I was going to say, hopefully that inspires a resurgence in practical effects. I hope so.
I think just the business side of it's just not going to go for this shit again. Like with Water World and these mistakes and shit. I mean, I get it though.
Maybe as a novelty sort of thing, like Dark Crystal, came out on Netflix and it was supposed to be all practical effects, or at least using the puppets. But when I scanned it, I watched a bit of it, and it had what looked to me like CGI stuff in there still, even then. Like it would have been nice to keep it pure, and make that sort of a selling point. But
you've got J.J. Abrams, who wanted to use more practical effects, and he used a lot of practical effects in his Star Wars movies, Rise of Skywalker and Force Awakens. So there's there's some filmmakers still have an appreciation for it.
Yeah, and that specifically, I think, was done because it was Star Wars. That it was like an homage, like much of what else he did with it was an homage. Yeah.
We're not going to talk about Rian Johnson's Star Wars because that's a different podcast. But
I will definitely, I would go deep with you on that.
I mean, it's probably impossible to stay on Jaws the whole time, and we do organically go wherever we go.
That's how
we can go there if you want to. Yeah,
that's how our podcast. I hated The Last Jedi.
We did our first episode of this, sub channel or whatever you want to call it, is about people's favorite films was Star Wars with Greg Zart. So we did get into that a little bit.
And we've done a 5-hour or 3-hour review of The Last
Rise of Skywalker
by ourselves once.
But I still, there's definitely much more to say about Jaws before we do go into other territory. Like one thing I wanted to mention too, when I rewatched it, was I didn't remember the ship getting or the boat getting that wrecked by the end. It was like almost Titanic level, floating on a door sort of situation.
Hang up on that little mast. That's fucking perfect.
Yeah, I mean that built the tension. Brody's on that on his last. This is Brody's last chance to kill the shark, and the music was swelling, and it was just a tense moment.
Part of me, there's that stupid ass writer part of me that was like, would that tank really stay in its mouth that whole time and shit? Which I tried to turn off, but then I was like, it probably would. I don't know if these sharks would really regurgitate it or anything. They're so dumb and just like shit goes in their mouth. It's like one way street almost.
Nom. Yeah. Another thing about the film that would be interesting or good to touch on is at the beginning with the mayor because it's sort of like coronavirus, the situation now, where, and you can look at it both. You can look at it both ways too, because they're like, our entire town depends on, having the beaches open for 4th of July in summer, in general, and this is going to destroy their economy. And it's sort of like the coronavirus argument in that, like, it's like almost like this sacrifice to the gods thing, like, well, if 1 or 2 people are lost, but we all thrive in this economy, some people see that as still being the greater good, which with this, with the coronavirus situation is similar, that people are like, well, those who die, I guess we'll just, we can't stop the economy, that's
well, and also how even when people knew there was a likely shark attack and then knew there was a shark attack, it didn't stop a lot of people from still going in the water.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Now they did have the politician encouraging them. There was that great bit where no one is going in the water, and the mayor goes up to that dude. He's like, get your ass in the water, dude. No one's going in. And he gets in, then everyone else is like, oh shit, I can go in. Just very much
he was scared shitless to go in, but he went in.
Exactly.
Right.
And then you saw, oh, those kids pranked. That's what happened at that moment. It was fucking amazing.
Now,
Those little punks.
yes. When you do parallel this to the coronavirus thing, it could be argued in this scenario that you don't close the beaches, you just warn everyone. Go in the water at your own risk. There's a shark out there. If you want to come sunbathe or whatever, then that's fine. We're not going to shut the whole town down, but just let it be known there's a man-eating shark in the waters. Venture into it at your own risk. Is that maybe more sensible than just shutting it all down?
I think that would be more sensible. Yeah, just no swimming. Come and enjoy the beach.
Exactly.
But don't go in the water.
Well, even swim at your own risk, but just shark attack recently. There's a shark attack 6 days ago, signs everywhere instead of no swimming signs, which, I mean, I'm not letting my kid get in. I'm not getting in. It's kind of like if dumbasses want to get in and risk their life for a fucking stupid day at the beach, let them, I guess, but...
That's where the coronavirus thing does break down, because with coronavirus, you risk other people.
Yeah,
if you go out in the water and swim with the shark, you're only risking yourself, but it doesn't suddenly kill everyone else, on the beach,
You go back home to Vermont and grandma dies from a shark attack. Like, what?
It was also pretty heavy that Brody was, he was basically to blame for that second death, that he didn't shut down, and the mother came at him for that and said that he was responsible, and so it's a pretty heavy burden.
It is,
to touch on.
It's great for a hero, but there's part of me, like his wife said or whatever. Who was it? No, it was maybe Hooper. Somebody says it wasn't your fault,
right?
And he says, yeah, it was, which is great as a character. But this movie's so character driven for what it is. This kind of movie normally is not this character driven.
Did either of you guys read the book by any chance?
No.
There were some subplots that they left out. One of the subplots was Hooper and Brody's wife knew each other in the past, and in the book they have an affair during the whole shark hunt thing. So
it sounds way better without it. The movie did not.
It's much better without it. But the book just had some weird subplots that
That's hilarious. You'd almost think it'd be the reverse, where
Hollywood insists you add this
some love triangle. Like we've had scripts where we were on assignment. And we have to add a love triangle. Like, get the fuck out of here. This shit's about a serial killer.
No, it was perfect. Like Brody and his wife had the perfect relationship. They loved each other. They loved their kids. The film showed just enough. They didn't show more than they needed to. It was just enough.
Completely agree.
And that was refreshing for once. Like, does every marriage have to be stress in every movie and shit?
Right, seriously.
And they still had their moments, I love the bit where he's looking at the shark books and she goes out and the kids are about to get on their little boat, or they're sitting on their boat at the dock. And he's like, get in here, because he's been reading the book. And she's like, whatever, it's not a big deal. And then she looks at some picture in the book and she's like, get the fuck in here, you heard your father.
Yep. So
great. It's like getting on the same page, parentally.
Yes, exactly. I had completely forgotten that it was actually a book before a movie, and then when you said that, it reminded me. But then I was like, is it one of those cases where they wrote the book after the movies? But it was a book prior to. It was an adaptation. In other words, the movie was of a book. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. What was the dude's name?
Completely forgot about that.
Peter Benchley.
Peter Benchley. He worked on the script too, right?
Yep, he did with Carl Gottlieb.
Yeah, and there were scenes he wasn't there in the making of footage that I saw, but Gottlieb was, which is crazy as a writer nowadays, that he was on the boat with them. They showed scenes where he and Spielberg were talking, and they're like, basically Spielberg telling him to cut all his dialogue. Like, we could do all this shit in one line, dude. And they came up with a good line, and it is just so economical, man.
Both Gottlieb and Benchley had little cameo roles in the film too.
Okay, what roles do you
Peter Benchley was the reporter on the beach, and I can't remember. Gottlieb played a character called Franklin, but I can't remember where he was. He was just a background character.
Or one of those guys who go out on one of the boats or something.
Probably one of the hunters.
That dock scene was great.
It was. Yeah.
I like that the guy didn't die.
They were all huddled in one group. Like, why wouldn't they kind of spread out? But that's human nature for you.
Did this shit make you as a kid scared to swim? Or at least go in the ocean? So you're landlocked Midwest, right?
I went to pools. We never even went to Lake Michigan, so
we lived on the coast.
The ocean, the swimming in the ocean's creepy as fuck to me.
Is it? Yeah, I've been to the
Sharks are partly
ocean.
why. Yeah, I've done it plenty too, but yeah, this movie I think did as a kid have an impact on me.
Same.
Yeah.
We had those active imaginations. We grew up in the DC Chesapeake Bay area, so out in the ocean, East Coast ocean shit. And then we moved to the Philippines for a while as kids. And
Oh wow.
I was just telling my kid, we were watching some weird but true Sunken Treasure episode on Nat Geo Kids or some shit. And I brought up all my snorkeling gear I had from when I was stationed, or after I got out of the Air Force, but I was at Ascension Island in the South Atlantic Ocean, like tracking satellites and shit. And I got the snorkeling gear, and I went out like 2 times, like pulling rock lobsters out of little caves and shit underwater.
That's awesome.
And the second time I went out, they call them a fang-tooth moray eel. They have teeth that looks like shards of glass.
I've seen pictures. Yeah.
One of them came out of one of these fucking holes I was just about to reach into, a foot away from my face with those fangs.
Jesus,
dude, I just booked it. I have not been back in the ocean since.
I'm fascinated by the ocean. I'm fascinated by the deep sea, but I would be scared. I'd be scared shitless to go scuba diving.
You're so on their turf. Like, I'll fight a shark on land, but I'm not fighting him in his fucking territory. No, I don't even want to fight one on land and shit. But
some of that shit in the deep sea is so alien and crazy, trippy. Just the bioluminescent and just all kinds of freakish looking too, like those anglers and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
How many
it's a
times
weird
would
mix of deceptively intelligent and then, like he said, doll's eye, just stupid predatory shit.
Well, sharks, they only do one thing. They kill to survive.
Yeah.
Like, that's their purpose.
Eating machines.
Some of the he mentioned in the movie when he was reading the book, and it's funny, there was no internet then, so it's like you just read these books about it, and he's like, nobody knows how old sharks get. They could be 1,000 years, 2,000 years, no one even knows. And I looked it up because I remembered hearing or reading that they could live up to 500 years. It's just still fucking crazy. And there is one.
Forgot to show you guys. Here, look at that.
Nice.
Jaws right there. Paid. No, I don't know if you can see it through the lights, but that's the orca. I got a whole bunch of Jaws stuff. I'm just
That's awesome.
super nerd here. Sorry.
Were you saying they looked something up and confirmed, or they confirmed?
Well, I looked up after that what the oldest known shark was, and there's one that I believe is still alive that's up in the Arctic somewhere. I think it was, and it was believed to be 272 years old, I think.
Someone get Quinn on that motherfucker.
And they said its species could conceivably live to 500, like half a millennia. That's insane, man. You think about that, like through generations of humans, this thing. But you were talking about that's all they do is just eat, pretty much. Eat and procreate. So this thing for 272 fucking years is just flying around, just eating everything, and that's pretty
true
much
monster, dude. True monster.
I think the scariest thing is that we only know a small fraction of the sea life that exists. Like, we don't know what's in the very deep. Like, there could be megalodons in the very deep sea at the bottom of the ocean. Like, we don't know. Like, we know
fucking Godzilla's, kaijus.
There could be.
Lovecraftian
could
shit.
Be.
Prince of Namor. Jason Momoa. Who knows?
How many times would you say you've seen this movie, Jaws?
Jaws, I probably up there with Star Wars. Like, probably got triple digits. We'll just say triple digits.
Okay, nice.
Easily.
Damn. That's crazy.
I gotta watch it. I don't think
I could watch
times. I gotta watch it a couple times every summer. I gotta watch it on the 4th of July.
Do you subject your family to this, or they're just like, God damn it?
They've seen it. Yeah, they've seen. I've got VHS, Blu-ray. I've got a beta. I've got the 4K. I've got a DVD. I've got multiple copies of it.
You feel like at this point you can just close your eyes and watch that shit.
Probably. Yeah.
Right. So is this your desert island movie? If you were stuck on a desert,
it is. Yeah,
it's the last movie I'd want on a desert island.
No shit.
It's my comfort.
I'd be watching Castaway. Like, how do I get the fuck off this thing?
It's my comfort food. It makes me happy.
It's funny. And you would be Jaws' comfort food.
Yeah, it would be.
It's perfect.
We all got to go someday.
It was kind of reminding me too of The Old Man in the Sea, Hemingway.
Sure.
Like just. Especially the Quint element of
Ahab, Captain Ahab, Moby Dick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's classic timeless shit, man. And just following the monster is almost a Beowulf aspect to it. It's classic shit too. And so many Greek myths track down the monster Medusa with Perseus.
Yes.
The Nemean lion, all that shit. The Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon slaying, essentially.
No.
Mm-hmm.
The sequels. You said the first exposure you had was the third one. That's the first one you had seen.
That's the
Okay, and
first
then you
Jaws
went
that I
back
saw,
and
yeah.
okay, and then you went back and watched the first one after that, and then the second.
Mm-hmm.
How many have there been sequels? Do you know? Is it like up to
4.
5 or something? Oh, 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And that one had alternate endings, didn't it? I just remembered that the fourth one that, like, you're depending which theater you went to. I think I had a different end.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
That was
the one I saw.
That was kind of popular back then. Clue, the movie, had different endings depending on what theater.
That's perfect, though.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of a cop out almost to have the two endings in a way. We've had this discussion. We thought about doing with our own stuff, but I like that it exists, as like an alternate version. I don't have any problem.
Clue
But I do
makes
feel like
perfect
one
sense
should be
for
the
it.
version. Yeah, absolutely. So what did you think of the sequels and like each one? Like
Part 2 was okay. Part 2 I liked. Can
you refresh me on what happened in part 2? I don't remember at all how that
Same.
went down.
another shark.
Isn't it like the Revenge or
Was it
something?
the baby?
That was part 4. Part 4 was
Okay.
Shark's Revenge. No, just another shark comes and it's just
a different
another
shark.
shark. Quint
Now,
Same
Spielberg did not
Spielberg.
direct any of that shit. It was totally just like a money grab,
Just
right?
yeah.
Yeah, but still written by Carl Gottlieb. I can't remember who directed
Still could be a
that.
money grab.
But
Yeah, I mean, it made money.
Roy Scheider wasn't in it.
No, Scheider
None of
was
it.
in it.
It wasn't?
Scheider was,
Okay.
Scheider was in part 2.
So he came to help out.
No. He didn't want to be in it. He hated it. He didn't want anything to do with it. But Universal had him under contract, and Universal said, "You know what? Do this, and we'll fund your 52 pickup. I think it was called. We'll fund this movie. We'll make this movie for you, but you got to be in Jaws too."
One for you, one for me. I meant the character, though. Was it that the thing that he was called to help out because he had experience with this previous?
Was it back on
Is that
Amity
why?
Island again?
It was back on Amity Island. Another shark just comes and does the same thing. The mayor was in it, and the mayor's like, I can't believe this is happening again. And Hooper is away on another assignment somewhere, and Quint is obviously dead. So it's
Dreyfus was too big a star by then.
he was,
Have him in it.
Right.
Dreyfus
He was,
is fucking awesome, man.
Yeah,
that dude
he
is
had a
not
good
getting
energy.
enough credit. Like, just as an actor, like he's very intelligent. His timing's great. His laughs is good. Very naturalistic.
Yeah.
Like when he comes to dinner at their
drinking
house and he brings the wine over and he just starts eating dude's dinner and shit. It didn't seem like acting to me. It seemed like the kind of dude who's just a rich, entitled dude who would barge in and start eating your fucking food,
Yeah, he parodied his character Hooper in Piranha 3D. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Oh, really?
He played a character called Hooper. I don't think it was supposed to be the same Hooper. Maybe it was, but
Oh my God, Jaws and Piranha are in the same universe now.
he's this guy that goes fishing, and
Man-eating fish universe.
he's to blame for the piranha outbreak that happens and unleashes them. So
I do remember the first Piranha freaking me the fuck out as a kid.
I remember Piranha 2, the spawning. That was the flying Piranha one. And isn't that the one
James Cameron
made? Yeah.
Maybe that is. I feel like it was the first one I'm thinking of, but
I know we saw the first 2 as kids.
yeah, I don't
The
think
second
I've
one
seen
was
the
just so
third,
ridiculous.
but I was aware
They
of
were
it.
flying and shit. Like, I don't know.
James Cameron said that he made the best ever flying piranha movie.
Yes. I've seen him say
That was
on
the
Howard Stern.
only.
Let's
that was
make one so we can give him some competition.
That was the only flying piranha movie.
All right, that's our next project now, Flying Piranha movie.
Why aren't there 7 flying Piranha movies? Come on, folks.
Right, come on, it's a whole genre that's waiting to be exploited.
You'd think there would be a Piranado movie, but
Right, no shit. But that's a mouthful. The Piranha-ado or Piranado?
Piranado, I think is good.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, you said when I first was messaging you about this that we don't realize the can of worms we opened with having you on to talk about Jaws.
oh, because I love Jaws. It's like I could stroke.
So now, but your love of this, part of what we want to do with this, my favorite movie shit, some of it will just be geekdom. Some of it's Humans of New York style, really profound movies. Like last week, we talked to our Cactus Jack star, Michael Gall, and his pick was Inherit the Wind, a movie that not only made him give up religion, but want to become an actor. Like that's profound life shit. You know what I mean? The impact it had on him. But yours is more just like a love of it as a movie lover, right? Like you don't have any personal connection necessarily to you and your dad used to watch it every fucking Sunday or any shit like that,
Nothing like that, other than the fact that this made Steven Spielberg who he is today, and Steven Spielberg is probably one of the greatest directors of all time. You know, without Jaws, would we have a Steven Spielberg? So
This movie changed everything as far as the mega blockbuster.
it did, yeah.
Tentpole.
And why did it do that though? Because there had been movies like this before, you know, Earthquake, you know, there have been disaster movies, big movies, Airport 77. What did Jaws do differently to make this the creator of the summer blockbuster movie? That's a question that I can't answer.
I think part of it's the
What was
horror. The horror element, the monster, the not seeing it, the lurking.
And that is some primordial shit, being eaten alive by anything. I mean, a lion, whatever. I mean, that goes all the way back to our like deepest fears that before language, anything. I mean, back when we were fucking weasels or whatever.
Yeah. And so, the music too. You know, the music two notes.
Yes.
And we remember
John
that.
Williams once
and
again.
Spielberg hated the soundtrack when he first heard it. He hated it, but Williams talked him into it. And I mean,
John Williams is one of the most pimpest motherfuckers of all time. We were talking to Greg Zard about Star Wars. It's funny because he said, you know, he started playing the music. He's like, this is just one of the reasons I love it, the music. What else do you hear the music and you instantly know what it is? I was like, I mean, Jaws, Indiana Jones. I started listening to some, and I'm like, they're all John Williams.
John Williams, and
he has like all of the most iconic shit, really.
Yeah.
Yep, he is
got
probably
like John Carpenter. Halloween Horror is the other one. That shit,
right?
You know, horror,
which
themes.
is sort of Jaws like, you know, dun 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 dun. You know, it's kind of.
And Halloween,
The Exorcist and Halloween has that piano kind of thing going.
Exactly, but again, very simple,
very sparse.
Notes.
Yes.
You don't got to do much, man.
It's going to be a very sad day when we lose John Williams. Knock on wood. I don't want that to happen anytime soon, but I'm going to be really, really bummed out.
True legend. I mean, damn. What is Jaws without the soundtrack?
Right. Movies, you know, some of those movies, soundtrack? You know, Star Wars would not be Star Wars without that movie. Lucas wanted classical music originally. You know, he wanted Bach and Beethoven, and it would not be what it is without.
That was not the timer. That was me saying, fuck that, Lucas.
John Williams, and I forget the name of it, but there was a suite or whatever of compositions that Star Wars was heavily inspired by. I think was it Ort or something like Carl Ward or something. That's Carl Ward.
I think so. But it's, I know what you're talking about.
But it was the planets. It was, you know, there was one for each planet in the solar system.
Which is cool, though, the space opera.
And there's a lot of like he definitely drew inspiration from that. Yes, it makes perfect sense. But my point being, though, it is still very much in that classical vein. I mean, it's like using an orchestra, or, you know, classical style orchestra and all that stuff. Compare that to like the more recent, like Hans Zimmer and Trent Reznor and all these soundtracks nowadays. It's still definitely in that, you know, realm, more classical than.
It is funny, Chris and I,
modern stuff often.
We've become enamored with this concept of just, can we do everything? Can we, you know, what Soderbergh kind of does, but even a step further. I mean, be our own colorists, score the shit ourselves. Everything.
The technology now,
Oh yeah, you could.
But
But
there is something to be said for just titans coming together. That's what these Spielberg movies are. John Williams with the Spielberg, with the Harrison Ford, with, you know, it's like, geez, that shit is impressive.
What do you mean? We're titans at all that.
Right. We need our Harrison Ford. We got Gall, but it's like, unless we make every movie with him, we got to find more.
They're out there.
It's synergistic, though. It's like sometimes these people get together and it just creates fucking magic. I mean, generations influenced by it, and like Jaws, maybe I could see it having a profound impact on people's lives as far as a fear of the ocean and shit. But otherwise, it's not that kind of movie necessarily. It's not one that would have a positive impact on your life. I
don't know if it really inspired filmmakers to become directors, or
probably
maybe it did. I mean, I'm sure it inspired some people to get into filmmaking.
I'm sure a ton. I'm sure, but yeah, I mean that's almost just a given. You know what I mean? Like something Inherit the Wind, the impact it had on Gall to change the course of his life spiritually and shit.
That's a deep movie.
His worldview,
to change your worldview, not like this is what I want to do for a living and shit. You know.
Well, you know what movie did that recently? Passion of the Christ. Remember that? That changed. I mean, people were admitting to crimes they committed, murders they committed. Like, I don't understand how movies. I don't know. Like, amazing film, but how could that change so many lives like that? Like,
well, maybe this is more about spirituality and the spiritual mind and shit. And how it's.
Yeah, in a way, they were probably already kind of primed for it.
Yeah, exactly. The kind of movie would never have the same impact with someone who's an athist or something. But which I mean, amazing fucking film. Mel Gibson,
yes,
possibly my favorite director, to be honest.
No, I loved Apocalypto. Apocalypto,
dude, Braveheart, Apocalypto, all the Man Without a Face, even his little movies and shit. Very well done, you know.
Yeah, he's making a sequel now to Passion of the Christ, Resurrection of the Christ, I think.
Yeah, I know. And it's so crazy that Jim Caviezel actually got struck by lightning when he was on the cross.
Oh my god!
Shit, did you ever hear that?
Yep,
I never heard that.
Yeah, dude, fucking nuts.
I'm a believer now.
Right. So he already is. He makes like faith movies and shit now, I think.
Was this before or after the lightning bolt? That he
after. I think
it was after, yeah. But, he was awesome in The Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah, he's great in that.
Yes.
He's a good actor. Thin Red Line. Fucking great. I have no idea where we are time-wise, but... So, let's talk about just other movies you love then. You are a huge horror guy.
I'm big into horror. Yep, I love Star Wars. Love independent horror.
Like your podcast is the pop culture podcast.
Yep.
Yet your film festival is Twisted Dreams.
Yep, but we're trying to change that. We're trying to branch out into more fantasy and sci-fi. We're trying not to pigeon ourselves into horror so much.
Which is interesting. It's tough. Sometimes niche is better.
It is, yeah.
Just as far as having a lane and a dedicated audience.
The go-to place, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we're finding sponsors aren't too interested in giving money to horror film festivals, so we gotta think about sponsors and
sons of bitches.
Yeah.
It's always about fucking money.
Yep.
Can't keep anything pure.
Always.
The genre thing is interesting again, though. Like, some movies just are hard to quantify. Like Jaws again, it's an action adventure. It's a horror movie. We can almost argue just police procedural at times and shit, just dealing with the coroner and the medical examiner and the politics of it and shit, which is cool.
How much time we have left?
Way too long.
Actually, I did like that in the one we did with our Michael Gaw, he Inherit the Wind. He asked how much time we had left, but it wasn't because we had run out of things to say. It's because he wanted to know if there was enough time to say what he wanted to say next. That's a good position to be in.
He's a motor mouth.
But do you have anything like to plug or anything, by the way? Do you want to
the Pop Culture Podcast? We have that we stream that on Facebook and YouTube and over on Twitch. You can find us on, probably easiest on Facebook.
Okay.
And
What's up there interview they did with Lloyd Kaufman? It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that was a fun interview. We did that for the Twisted Dreams Film Festival.
You might get 3 more views or something from that.
So. I'll take it.
Hi, Mom. Yeah, we don't have a ton of viewers at this point, but we're trying. As far as Spielberg goes, it's interesting too that the guy who made this movie would make a Schindler's List later.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if anyone, when Jaws came out, would have ever seen that coming,
Yeah, I mean, he made a Color Purple.
True.
That was kind of a deep movie back when that came out. I was like, The Color Purple, like, what is it about space aliens that are purple? What,
a lot of people are like, why Spielberg? Empire of the Sun he made.
Yeah.
So he did take some departures.
Yeah.
Some of his best shit, Munich's fucking amazing.
Yeah. That's a great film. Yes. Have you ever seen Duel? DUEL? Yes, that's great. I think it's Spielberg's first feature film, right?
I think Sugarland Express.
Sugarland Express was, yeah.
Oh, okay. So
he did a bunch of TV before that. I think his first directorial gig was an episode of Night Gallery, which producers didn't want him on, but the studio had vouched for him. So that's kind of how he got his foot in the door.
I feel like one of the times he jumped the fence of the studio, I feel like he ended up finding his way to like the president of production or some shit.
I think so, yeah.
At one of these studios and was just like, I'm going to make movies here one day when he's like 16 and shit. And I guess impress the dude. Try that nowadays. Everything's so corporate and fucking, dude, you just get tased and banned from the lot forever. But that's not the only way to make movies nowadays either. Fuck a studio.
Right.
You can make a movie with your phone. I know people that make them with their iPhones.
We did.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Primarily.
There you go.
Yeah. Stick around, watch the trailer, bitches.
I love that obstruction, you know, try to
Here's an obstruction.
strip it down to the minimal.
Make a shark movie with a phone.
Oh, you could. Yeah. iPhones
Yeah.
are waterproof. You go diving with those things.
Yeah, like a found footage shark movie, like open water, all those. Has anyone made a found footage one yet? That could be fucking frightening because you might never see the shark.
Yeah, I don't
Like the
think
actor might never get a good shot of the shark if they got a phone on him or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That'd be
Which would be
crazy.
part of the obstruction too. Like, so, you know, people who are just trying to do it where you can't get your own animatronic shark or real footage of one. So how do you work
Right.
with that? How do you make it convincing?
That would be fucking crazy. And they're such silent killers. Like they just come up. You see that fin? Like, oh fuck. There's no shrieking like some. Whenever a dragon or like some bird thing attacks in a movie, they're always coming in hot, shrieking and shit, you know. Or a dinosaur, the T-Rex. This shit, just from out of nowhere, under the surface. It's fucking creepy.
Yep, it is. Yeah, Google us some like seal attacks. You know, great whites getting seals. Like you don't see them; they come up from below, and then they just jump out of the water, grab the seals, and go back down. And scary.
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
For the last however many minutes of this we have left, I'm gonna just edit in sharks.
There you go. Perfect.
Seals.
Strap a GoPro onto a seal in the Arctic, and you'd have your
Oh, shit.
your found footage. Oh, I see a cat. Hey, cat.
His cat, Jeffries.
We just got 2 new kittens.
Enjoy.
He's probably he's about to lick his ass. Get an eyeful.
No, yeah, there he goes.
He's doing what he can to keep the last however many minutes of this entertaining.
Star of the show.
It's
That's
not a
his take on it.
not a family friendly podcast, is it?
He's not a Spielberg fan. Spielberg's interesting, man. He's gonna dominate this whole fucking thing. Like,
Yeah, I
I mean, depending on who you have, he influenced an entire generation of people.
yes.
I made a post on Facebook joking that Steven Spielberg has touched more young boys than possibly everyone except the Catholic Church.
Saw that. Yeah.
Because it's true. It's almost all young boys, dude, that I know. Like, I don't know too many chicks.
Well, that's
who
what
love
he's tapping
fucking
into.
Spielberg movies, you know? Yeah, exactly.
Especially at the time, because
Just funny,
you know
'cause we're all
the
the same.
genders were more enforced as far as girls played Barbie and boys, you know, were into sharks and
Yeah. Indiana Jones.
yeah.
I had Indiana Jones action figures. I didn't have any ET action figures, but I had the ET video game, which I loved.
The Atari 2600 ET.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that was great. Yeah,
People
it
give
was
that shit. I loved that game when
hardcore.
I was a kid.
Yeah.
That thing
Me
is one of
too.
the most
Where you'd push the button to get his
psychedelic,
neck to grow and then he'd
Yep.
float. Yes.
Yep.
abstract,
Raiders
psychedelic
Lost-
shit.
Raiders of the Lost Ark was similar too.
Even weirder. The Raiders game was
Yes, it
the
was so
acid
weird,
trip.
but I love how weird. Yeah, it's so
It's like a
out there.
fucking, what was that, 4-bit? That's not even like 8-bit. Like 8-bit Nintendo came out and was a big deal. 8 bits.
Did we
Oh,
lose
shit.
the house?
No, he's there, I think.
No, I'm here.
Oh, we lost
Oh,
the video.
lost my picture when I plugged my fucking.
Oh, funny. Yeah, you swapped.
The other
no.
fat guy.
All right, cool.
There we go.
So, what were we talking? Oh, E.T. I was E.T. for I think it was Halloween once.
Yes. It was
I
one
used to
of
draw
those-
them all the time too.
Dude,
used to draw E.T.
it was one of those cheap plastic. Why the fuck do I keep disappearing?
Yeah, just with the rubber band, you know. just like,
A Perfect World, that Casper mask that kid had. What the fuck is wrong with my camera? Cannot plug my vaporizer in, apparently. Damn, now I'm in some Nick Refn movie and shit.
nice.
What's up?
Only God forgives.
The clock at Hard Out does not. I'm scared to look at it.
So, if you had to put Jaws in a particular section at Blockbuster, what would it be? Would it be horror or action or adventure or?
I'd probably put it in a thriller. You know, put a thriller section.
So you would separate thriller from horror and action.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty
And-
gory. Like, what do you think makes the difference between horror and thriller in this case, especially?
I think level of intensity
Mhm.
and
Well-
you know, I don't know, maybe gore. Nah, probably. I don't think. No, not gore. Just level of scares, level of intensity. I think.
Well, one thing with horror is maybe not universally, but often it's more about the survival, like, or you know, it's like it's more centered on the villain, like hunting down and stalking people or whatever and killing like just a string of victims and stuff. Whereas with this, I mean, really, it was only two before Quint, right? It was just the girl and then the kid.
Yep.
And it, like a horror movie would be more focused on probably the carnage, right? You know, whereas
that's interesting. I think it's about predator and prey.
Yes.
Is what you're hitting on. Normally, the protagonist or whatever, the lead would be the prey. In this case, Brody becomes the predator of a predator, which is interesting. But then at the end, when it's all going to shit and you're marooned out on this boat that's collapsing and capsizing, you become the prey again. You know, it's like this movie's this battle of prey and predator, which is interesting. You know, I don't know if
the old man in the sea
that do that until the end. Usually, it's usually at the very end where somebody turns.
Exactly,
and take often out Jason, but it's always in self-defense. You know.
Yeah, and oftentimes it's only them getting away, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You know, it's not Leatherface doesn't get killed or beaten. You know, it's just you get away. That's the victory. You know. Yeah.
Live to fight another day. I think. I'm trying to think any other horror movies that kind of do that play with the predator prey thing that much. It's interesting. That might be something to look into fucking with creatively. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Beowulf again could be kind of a horror thing if you imagine that this thing has been. There's been movies, I guess, like that 13th Warrior type shit, but they're never horror movies. That's the thing. Where this thing's been attacking us, we need to go get it before it strikes.
Beowulf could really be a good horror film. Like I don't know if you saw the CGI one from Robert Zemeckis. Yeah. Really good fucking movie, amazing movie. That could be almost horror in a way.
You can make a version of Beowulf that is a straight horror for sure.
Oh, sure.
If you gave it just those certain trappings. And
I got to admit, when I studied or whatever, I was told to study Beowulf. I thought it was kind of lame that Grendel got killed by his arm being ripped off. It's like, that's it? Like your arm getting ripped off?
I thought that too, but
now as a grown up, I think it's cooler. But
like the femoral artery type thing. Like the fact that shit can definitely kill you if you bleed out or whatever, you know. It is interesting. It's almost like Achilles. You got hit in the heel and you died, bitch.
Yeah. I always thought that was kind of lame too. But the reason is great because he got dipped into the waters that protected him by the heel. So that justifies it all.
Yes. The Grendel thing, though, that is interesting, getting just your arm ripped off. It's kind of like when Jaws dive, his fin got cut off. Not that they bleed the same way as us.
Didn't his eardrums get ruptured or something? Like somebody screamed or they ruptured his eardrums? I remember the cartoon version. I didn't read the story.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm thinking about Zemeckis's.
I don't remember it much. Angelina Jolie was in that, right? She was
Ray
Grendel's mom or something, right? Yep. Grendel's mother.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that in the play? I don't even remember if I think it was. I think his mother was in it, if I remember right.
The old
that's pretty crazy. But anyway.
Spielberg should have made it.
Right.
Jurassic Park is another horror movie, kind of, but not.
Yeah. It's similar to Jaws in
that it has everything in it. He makes these movies that are hard to even quantify genre-wise because they kind of have everything in them.
Yeah, when I brought up Duel, I meant to say it's somewhat like Jaws too, because it's this, even though it's a person, like, so for those who don't know, it's the whole movie is about this guy. It's like a road rage movie. And was it Peter Weller? Was it? I forget who was the main character in it. The actor. It's been a long time, but
Bruce Dern maybe.
Yeah,
I gotta look it up now.
But he pisses off a truck driver, and you don't ever see the truck driver, just his arm at one point, out the window or whatever. Right. But it's just he pisses off a truck driver, and the whole movie is the truck driver just basically chasing him on highways and shit and fucking.
Right, because the truck itself, a semi, is kind of the monster.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a big shark coming at you or whatever. But
really, the true monster is the guy behind the wheel. That's what's great. The best monster movies are when man is the monster, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Dennis Weaver.
Yeah.
Okay. Duel, classic
the most bizarre murder weapon ever used.
Yeah, who's plays the guy? Do they ever even show the dude?
The truck driver was played by someone named Kerry Lofton.
I first heard of it actually reading Stephen King's On Writing, which is amazing. His book, obviously, On Writing, but he actually specifically pointed out that you never see the truck driver; you only see his arm, on the windowsill or whatever.
Yeah, I'm looking at
that
Toll.
was written by Richard Matheson.
Yeah, and he did the screenplay as well.
Yes.
That's what I was about to say. They used to do that so much more back then, where you'd get to adapt your own shit as an author.
Yeah.
You always got to bring in 50 different writers and shit on it. Lame. Come on, Hollywood.
All right, let's talk about The Last Jedi. Okay, when we had our first episode talking about Star Wars, I know The Last Jedi. I don't like any of the sequels, to set the record first. I think it's all kind of fan fiction. None of them did it for me. But I will say, to me, The Last Jedi was more original than the other two. It was brave enough to, like, and again, I don't think it was very well done or anything, but I just mean like certain aspects, the most criticized aspects that I hear are like that Luke Skywalker became this bitter guy who just abandoned hope and shit. And to me, that turns me on. I like
the best shit about it.
Yeah. And for him to turn around again is cool, to like the next generation inspires him again or something,
Yeah.
And also Rey, her parentage meaning nothing, that they were just scavengers, that was another Rian Johnson thing. I loved that too, that they're saying it's not about you being this chosen one or that you inherited this, greatness, that it can be anyone, so those couple things that I hear the most criticized about it, I actually thought were probably the best things about the whole sequel trilogy.
Yep.
So yeah,
I love The Force Awakens. I thought Star Wars is back. The Force Awakens was fun. It was not original. It was pretty much a remake of A New Hope, but I was fine with that. It was just what I wanted. I was fine with Luke Skywalker leaving. I was fine with that. Han Solo's death, I was fine with. Everything was just good. Then with The Last Jedi, The Last Jedi just wasn't fun. It sucked out all the fun that Star Wars is supposed to be. Felt there was a lot of virtue signaling in it. There was a lot of pandering. I just didn't like. I don't like politics being shoved down my throat.
Well, I will say major grievances. That was the one where I forget her name, but the whatever maneuver where she used light speed to shatter the
fold-on maneuver. Yeah,
it should have been the fucking Akbar maneuver, man. They should have given that to Akbar.
Yep.
Admiral Akbar, dude.
Yeah, like represent.
Admiral Akbar went out like a chump. Like he didn't mean anything. I don't know. And the whole Princess Leia floating back.
Yeah, that was stupid too.
Leia Poppins.
You convinced me it sucked. Well, like I said, I didn't like any of them, to be honest.
Yeah, the point is that you like the things most people are criticizing.
Yes, yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard that a lot though too. I've heard people that liked it. That's the reasons why they like it. They like it because it was different. And I'm fine with different. I'm fine with subverting expectations, but it just sucked all the fun that Star Wars.
No, that's valid for sure, and that probably is the most important thing. That is fun.
But that's even as kid. Maybe Chris and I are just morose because we grew up, in ghetto ass fighting kids and shit every day. But I remember even as kids that we always thought how sick Return of the Jedi, which we already had known as kids, was supposed to be the culmination of this Anakin Skywalker story, really, his redemption tale. If it ended just with him being burned on that pyre instead of the Ewok party and the celebration and everything. If you just ended the first trilogy on a fucking slow black fade out of Darth Vader burning and shit, how fucking sick would that be? So we always kind of liked maybe or wanted those movies to be a little less fun, a little more profound, a little more, so.
Like, yeah, you think of things like, say, 2001 or, fucking a lot of Kubrick types, so for Clockwork Orange and things like that. They're fun, but they're, not fun because it's these zany adventures or anything like that. It's more that it's because it's this almost diabolical fun or something, you know what I mean?
Like almost a guilty pleasure of just malicious Breakfast Club Bender being bad feels pretty good, doesn't it, type shit,
One thing in our one with our first episode of this talking about Star Wars was we keyed it on that it would have been pretty refreshing to make Finn's story the main story, that it's this stormtrooper who turns, that's compelling as fuck, rather than kind of rehashing the same thing. Yeah.
And Chewbacca.
Jay pointed out that Chewbacca should have gone on the warpath, man. When Han got killed, he should have fucking tribal painted
Chewbacca
up
and
and
Han,
fucking
dude?
formed a tribe, just fucking
Chewie on a warpath to get
revenge
Kylo Ren
getters.
for killing his fucking homeboy.
Yeah, in The Force Awakens, I felt that Finn and Rey had really good chemistry. Like, these two were really good on the screen together. I wanted to see more of that. And in The Last Jedi, they separated them. They sent Finn on a quest with some new character that just wasn't interesting. She's not interesting. She's not compelling. I don't care about this new person.
No, that was worthless.
She's annoying.
Worthless.
And Rise of Skywalker, I felt like J.J.
You're alone, right?
Yeah. Is it cool if I start filming now?
No, what do we get inside?
Why are you here?
I just thought it was really interesting, that someone hasn't left their basement in 6 months, not even to use the bathroom. Is that true?
Why would I want to go out there? I got everything I need right here. That's what's wrong with most people. They're weak-willed pussies and parasites who buy into that whole "it takes a village" bullshit. You know how many aliases I've used calling into radio shows?
I've had it up to my goddamn gills with the systematic feminization of this country.
Army of sportsly one, Jim. Get your own damn show if you think you got that much to say.
You live in your mom's basement.
Kid! No! Fuck you! What's so special about my loser son?
You really do hate your own mother.
She's a woman. Why wouldn't I?
There's some disconnect there, and if I can find it, what is hate? Where does it come from? Where does it go?
You want to know what gender you are? Reach down the front of your fucking pants. Shoot fucking kite. Black Lives Matter. Do you call horses slaves? Liberal fucktard. Enough with the parades and the rainbow flags.
Dude, this guy's... it's like pure hate, man.
I want to see something really fucking cool.
This guy is a fucking animal. He's got himself on a leash. He's itching to get off that fucking leash. And he's gonna fucking kill some people.
What a fucking show.
Stop!
What do we hear?
Look at me! Look at me!
You're gonna help me show him the light. We're gonna change the world.
This is Cactus Jack coming to you live from a studio audience.
To the man who calls himself Cactus Jack, we have watched as you have rocketed to infamy.
And you wonder why these cornered animals lash out. Pick a fucking side.
And now, we have watched as you have called for literal blood.
I know you're out there listening. It's buzzing in your ears, burrowing into your brain.
Do it.
Jack, you're gonna love this.
I pulled that trigger on that motherfucker's head.
Your VPN will not shield you. The darknet will not hide you. You and your kind are finished.
You think I'm scared of you?
Come and fucking get me!
Might I be your neighbor? Neighbor?